Hey yo, turn me up just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's that man space vibe.
Step in the zone, microphone check. Russ and Les got the real intellect. Talk smooth like jazz on a late night set. With a convo deep and the topics connect. From the struggles to the wins, they address it with grace. Drop lines so cool, you can feel the bass. Two kings of the craft, and you know the rest. Kick back, pour a drink, welcome to the space. You go chillin' with Russ and Les. You go chillin' with Russ and Les. You go chillin' with Russ and Les. Hang out, cause now you vibing with nothing but the best. Space forever.
Welcome into another edition of the Manspace Podcast. Now, this is the voice of Russ, and with me, as always, he's not here, Manspace Nation. Right before the show began, my co-host experienced a power outage, so he's not here, but the show must roll on anyway. We're going to do and make the best of the show as we can because I have a special guest. So I'm genuinely excited and pumped to talk to him because he's a West Point Army graduate, captain, founder, data guy, and I'm pretty sure he has more Instagram success than, just the average person. And I'm sure his dog probably has more success than the average person as well. So, Manspace Nation, please welcome my guest, the one and only Danny Davis.
Russ, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you for
thank you so
being
much
here.
for having me.
I
Absolutely, this is
appreciate you.
awesome.
So, if you could just share with the Manspace Nation a little bit about yourself and just who you are and what you do.
Manspace Nation I'm honored to be here. My name's Danny Davis. Currently reside out of Florida. I am a tech enthusiast, entrepreneur, data consultant, a husband, a dog dad to a beautiful Belgian Malinois named Javelin and a beautiful golden retriever named Penny. I graduated from West Point. I was recruited to play football there. Now coming up on 10 years ago for graduating, and I got out of the Army 3 years ago now. And while I was in the Army, I started my own data company. That's where I started really learning about this after hours and putting this whole thing together, putting me in a position to be able to step into it full time. And now I help some of the top college football teams in the country with their analytics. I help some of the top private companies in the country with their analytics from employees to customers and everything in between. And just absolutely love what I do and try to inspire others to do the same.
That is awesome. Now, as you can possibly see, this big Alabama helmet over here. so, are you participating in assisting my team in some analytics here?
I'll say this: I am not assisting your team, and I don't like it when y'all smoke the cigars versus one team. I'll just say that.
Okay. All right. I won't go any further into that, but their orange looks hideous. So,
It was one of the most annoying things because I feel like there's like 5 different oranges across
yes.
the whole university. Even I went to a game one time. I'm like, I'm seeing
Mhm.
5 different oranges right here. Can we please choose one? I mean,
Just stick to one.
Alabama's that crimson red don't change, but sometimes that orange it be changing
Right.
sometimes.
It just depends on which Walmart it comes out of, when they get the shirts. That's all.
Oh man, that's funny.
But I just got to ask you about the system architect side and data engineering side, analytics of all those titles. Like when you step into the barbecue, like which title do you go with when you actually introduce yourself?
Honestly, I love introducing myself
Mhm.
as problem solver. What problems are you facing,
Oh,
and
nice.
how can I use data to
Yeah.
come in and solve those problems? Whether it's a engineering side, an architect side, what I love about my job and why I really am so successful in it is because
Mhm.
I'm very technical, but I'm very not at the same time. I'm not that
Yeah.
smart. I've just worked really hard and put in a lot of hours to get to this point and to have that knowledge. So when I'm sitting down with a coach, when I'm sitting down with an executive, a director, whoever it may be, and they don't know what a data
Mhm.
engineer is, they just know they have data problems that are costing them
Yeah.
money, costing them plays, costing them players. I can come in and have a non-technical conversation with them, know exactly
Mhm.
what they're looking for, and know exactly how to go solve that problem for them. So that's kind of how I like to sum it up. There's a lot of data going on in the world right now, and it can bring about
Mhm.
a lot of problems if you don't know how to use it right. And that's where I
Yeah.
come in and I unlock it. So really, a problem solver and a data facilitator is what I like to say to people that don't really know what data and system architecture is at the end of the
Right.
day.
So when it comes down to the college game and you're talking to these schools and talking to these coaches, we are in the age of NIL. How has NIL impacted the whole data processing system for you?
It hasn't really necessarily affected my process, but I see how it
Mhm.
affects the school's process. And,
Okay.
one of the things that I do is all of the technologies out there from the weight room to the football field that are collecting data, and they're super cool technologies. They're almost using those
Yeah.
technologies arms race for when they're having recruits come into the weight room. It's they want those
Right.
athletes to be blown away by all of the different technologies, all of the different
Yeah.
ways
Yeah. Yeah.
systems that they have to show them, hey, we are going to develop you like no one else in the country to help you achieve your goals of getting to the next level. Because look at everything we have. Now, from my
Yeah.
perspective, that almost makes my job harder and the coach's life
Mhm.
because now you have so much noise and you're trying to
Mhm.
use all of this technology when I'm not that old, but I grew up where it was just back squat and bench press and hand cleans, intensity, coaches yelling in your
Yeah.
face. There was no
Right.
doubt. Right now, you're trying to still do that toughness and intensity while trying to leverage some of the data, but there could be so much
Mhm.
noise that it can almost become a distraction. So I help
Yeah.
coaches try to find that middle between, yeah, we have all this cool technology, but how are we actually leveraging it to get your players better?
Understood. So when it goes to choosing West Point, that's not where a lot of people start their career. But what was the draw for you? Was military always the plan for you?
Honestly, no. No, my
Mhm.
my dad went to West Point. I had two uncles that went to West Point, much older
Mhm.
cousin go to West Point. So it was always in the family, and probably my first words were beat Navy as a child. Um, but it was never I never wanted to go to the army. I wasn't necessarily against it. My biggest thing
Yeah.
for me was I wanted to have my school paid for. I wanted to play
Mhm.
college football and I wanted to have be in the best position possible as an adult to go out and be successful. And even though it was really hard being an 18-year-old, seeing all my friends from high
Yeah.
school go to party schools and having the time of their
Right.
life, and I'm walking around West Point not being able to talk outside and my hands
Right.
cupped like this and left shoulder always touching the wall. It was not fun then, but
Yeah.
I knew what I was doing it for. I had the vision to when I was 30. I wanted to be in the best position possible with no school debt, a good experience, a good head over my shoulders, and just an
Mhm.
opportunity to go do what I wanted. And that's as an 18-year-old, just I'm almost thankful to that kid almost every day for making that decision. But it was never something I wanted to do. It was something
Yeah.
that I almost felt I had to do.
Yeah. Now, Les and I both are Army guys, but this is something I've talked to several people that have gone to West Point over the years, but I've never talked to anybody who actually played football for West Point. You coming in there and actually playing for playing football there, was there any doubt in your mind prior to, like, man, I gotta go and serve my country after I finish school before I can go to the NFL? Was there ever a thought like, man, what if that NFL is calling for me? Should I not go to West Point? Should I just go straight to a regular school?
That's a great question. Coming out of high school, I wasn't so naive to think that I could make it to the NFL. I felt like if I
Okay.
had a shot to the NFL, I'd have a lot more schools calling me outside of West
Yeah.
Point, which I didn't. So that brought a little bit
Mhm.
of a reality check to me, to where, I was just thankful that I was going to have a job coming out of high school. I was looking
Mhm.
forward to the opportunity of leading young soldiers at the time that were going to be 18 and needed a
Yeah.
strong leader in their life to help them through some of the
Mhm.
stuff that they were doing. But on the same line of going to the NFL, I love what the government did, or DOD did, or whoever made the decision to allow academy cadets and grads to go to the NFL right out of
Yeah.
college. I think Navy had someone drafted this year. I think that's
Yes.
phenomenal, and I think that brings a level of player to the academies, because a lot of kids do think that they're going to go to the NFL, and at least
Right.
they have the opportunity if they can once they leave. But it wasn't always like that. So that's just kind of the boat that I was in. But I'm super happy to see some of these football grads go out and play in the NFL.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, we have a little game that we like to do, and it is called Lightning Round. Lightning round. With lightning round, I'm going to ask you a question. There's going to be 60 seconds. You just say the first thing that comes to your mind, okay? Let me know when you're ready. You're going to hear some music in the background. Just when the music ends, the game is over. So let me know when you're ready.
Let's do it.
If your life came with a warning label, what would it say?
Hot to touch.
Your go-to fast food chain.
McDonald's.
Driving long distances or flying?
Driving long distances.
Early bird or night owl?
Rather be a night owl, but I happen to be an early bird.
Guilty pleasure movie.
Step Brothers.
Favorite snack.
Sour Patch Kids.
Last book you read.
Oh, Friday Night Lights.
Who would play you in a movie?
Russell Crowe from his Gladiator days.
What superpower would you love to have?
Teleportation.
Favorite city you love to visit?
My hometown. Binghamton, New York.
Okay, nice, nice, nice. Manspace Nation, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more of the Manspace podcast. We are back with our special guest, Danny Davis. Now, Danny, you've led over 100 people. You're responsible for over $30 million in government assets as a field artillery captain. Most guys our age are managing fantasy football teams. How did that level of responsibility help you as a man today?
Man, man, I haven't even really thought about that, and I'm just
Hmm.
almost so thankful that it's helped me so much. I'm in the process of buying a house now, and just to have a
Congratulations.
systematic process, the numbers process, what are all the things I got to do now? What am I going to be responsible for? my wife and I are almost like making a book of like, hey, here's everything in the house. What are we maintaining that year? Who's going to be responsible for what? So just being able to take on kind of an overwhelming process like that, and
Mhm.
coming from a background where I did manage $30 million, and I was handed a binder probably 3 inches thick from the army, and I'm responsible for that money. I'm responsible for those people. Even if I sign it out to my soldiers, if they lose it, guess who's gonna be on the hook for it? Probably me at the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it teaches you a lot of responsibility, especially being a 23, 24-year old, honestly, kid at the time, being responsible for something like that. It makes you perk up real hard.
Mm. So there's a quote from Jeff Monken. Don't mistake activity with achievement. You know, where did that land for you personally, either in the army or the business world?
Man, that's something I heard as a freshman on the football
Mhm.
team from him, and it just resonate. It resonates with me almost every single day, because it's really easy to almost fall in love with yourself in terms of activity. Oh, I'm starting a business, so I can go down so many rabbit holes and create so many different products or so many different things on my
Yeah.
computer. But if no one ever sees them, is that actually achievement? If no one ever buys them,
Right.
that actually achievement? If I'm going to the gym, and I'm just walking around on my phone, it's easy to walk out of the gym feeling like, yeah, I just did something. But did you actually push yourself?
Right.
Did you actually have a goal in mind? Were you following a plan? Were you
Mhm.
doing something productive? That's achievement. Moving the needle is achievement. And activity
Yeah.
alone doesn't doesn't just do that. And I think it's so easy to kind of blur the line between the two, especially being an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. You're not always going to see that achievement at the end of the day. You're not always going to have a sale at the end of
Very
the
true.
day. But are you able to look back and be like, hey, I moved the needle? Or, part of the achievement is saying, hey, I'm not moving the needle. That's just as much realizing that something needs to change is just as much of an achievement. But just sitting back and being like, hey, I did something, I showed up, is not going to get you where you need to be. To be successful, you need to do more than show up. You need to have a plan, a vision, perseverance, and get after it. That's where achievement comes from.
Understood. So, in your opinion, what is the biggest thing that the Army gave you that the civilian life just doesn't teach?
I've been out of the army now for three
I'm
years.
hitting hard with these.
I've been out of the army for 3 years. I
Yeah.
grew up in a military background, and I always thought it was kind of uh, normal. And now being a few years removed
Hmm.
from it, and working with so many people that have not been in the army, I really start to see kind of the difference
Right.
and really appreciate it. And I think some of those
Yeah.
differences are,
Yeah.
um, I would almost say the number one thing, that West Point really taught me that I take in my day to day life with my jobs is, in order to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower. If you don't know how to follow,
Absolutely.
if you don't know how to support your
Yeah.
boss and make him or her look good
Hmm.
and support the team and just kind of
Hmm.
fall in line, one team, one goal, you are
Yeah.
not going to be able to tell people what to do or lead by example or create a plan. So I think that's one of the things that I don't want to say that civilian world doesn't get, but in the army, you're going to be a follower whether you like it or not,
Right.
and that's just
Whether you
something
know
that
it
you
or not.
kind of
Yep. Yep.
learn to deal with and succeed in. And now taking that into the civilian world, like I never want to be the guy that my boss has to look at me and be like, Danny, you're not messing up, but you're not doing enough. You're a problem. You're not, you're trying to do your own thing. Like that's almost one of my biggest fears being in the civilian world. So knowing that, I try to do everything I can to be a phenomenal follower, a phenomenal team player, because I know that's what leaders ultimately do.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about Recon Sports a little bit. And what was the process like of doing the development of this company and that evolution and the transition from Army life into this?
So my goal, honestly, was never to become an entrepreneur. My goal when I
Mhm.
graduated West Point, you have to serve 5 years in the Army. I knew I was going to be done after
Mhm.
that 5 years, and I didn't want to just go into a role of leadership, quote unquote. I wanted to have a skill
Right.
set that I was passionate about, that I enjoyed,
Mhm.
that no one could take away from me. And so when I graduated West Point, knowing all of that, I always loved data, was always kind of keen to it. I love football, I love sports. So in order to kind of upskill myself, I just started volunteering at high school football teams. That first summer,
Mhm.
I graduated in May. I was with my first high school team that June, volunteering with them, going to practices, getting plugged in with their analytics. And now I had a practical exercise that I could now go take online courses with, I could go learn on, and it didn't feel like I was actually learning anything
Yeah.
or kind of the traditional school way of learning something that you don't want to learn. I was learning something
Mhm.
that I was so passionate about, and doing that, compounding that every day for almost 5 years, then people started reaching out to me saying, hey, we need this. And that's what honestly turned it into a little bit of a business from the high school world. And then in the college world and being able to step into it full time, right after I fulfilled my commitment to the Army, one of the top colleges in the country heard me on a podcast, reached out to me, and was like, hey, we're looking to do X, Y, and Z from a data perspective. Do you think that you can
Yeah.
pivot yourself to figure this out for us? And I mean, that was 3 years ago. Now
Mhm.
we're going on our fourth year together. And so I was really at the right place at the
Yeah.
right time, but it stemmed from me just chasing a passion, chasing a skill set, chasing a vision, and not just having things happen to me,
Mhm.
being proactive and achieving every day to kind of get one step closer to what I ultimately wanted to do is how Recon Sports started.
Wow, that's really interesting. Now, there are a lot of old school coaches, and it seems like there is a resistance between the younger coaches who are more analytic driven and the older coaches who don't want anything to do with it. Have you had more pushback from other coaches that say, "No, this isn't for me. I can't do this."
A lot of pushback, a
Yeah.
lot of pushback. And that led to two things. One, me becoming really good at it because I was trying to
Mhm.
convince them. I was trying to do everything I could from a data perspective, everything I could from a quote unquote sales perspective, or just demonstrating the value and just almost trying to break down a brick wall with my bare hands.
Mhm.
So it led me to become really good at my job and really good at the
Right.
interpersonal side. But then it also led me to go venture outside of the sports world into the private and commercial world
Mhm.
because there's no barrier there. There's the old
Yeah.
school approach in the private and commercial world when it comes to data was like literally 15, 20 years ago. If you're a company today and you're not having data architecture, systems architecture, making data driven decisions, you're out. Like, so that's what led me to go into that world now and venture into that world to where I'm not having to convince them about solving data problems. They're asking me to come solve their data problems for them. And I just get
Wow.
to do my job now and I don't have to be a salesman, which has been such a breath of fresh air from a
Mhm.
standpoint of not having to pull teeth when it comes to selling, but also a
Yeah.
breath of fresh air because it's like, man, I did what I set out I was going to do. I used the sports to teach me to get to this point. And while I still love doing the sports and it's fun, now I have a skill set in the real world where they pay
Yeah.
good, they need the problem solved, and that's a great combo for me.
So when it comes to Recon, you have your own internal analytics stack that you got, like your CRM, the financial system, the operating tools that you use, all for your own company. What is it like being a client of your own product and also the builder at the same time?
It's huge. It's
Mhm.
what allowed me to be a one man shop, to be honest with you. It's what allowed me to unlock so much potential of,
Mhm.
I talked about pulling teeth to sell. Well, I was very data driven of who I was talking to just because I knew it was going to be so hard. Hey, are there certain demographics? Are there certain um, win categories? Are there certain data points that is going to increase my likelihood of that person saying yes? And I was able to do that. I didn't need to go hire a marketing firm or
Mhm.
go hire a data firm to give me I knew how to go do all of that using data, now using AI. So it allows me to be a one-man shop. And if I didn't have that skill set, if I was just quite literally a facilitator or a program
Yeah.
manager or just a leader, I would need people to lead and I would need to pay them to lead them. And I didn't have that at the point. So it allowed me to be a one man shop, being able to literally give myself the product for free that I was selling. And at
Yeah.
the same time, I could control the product, right? If I was
Mhm.
selling clothes or selling a material item, you would have to front the money to go have them
Mhm.
build it, to do the manufacturing, to then sell it, right? All of the things you see on Shark Tank, to where
Right.
that wasn't the case for me. I was controlling the product, I was building the product. So that allowed me to open so many doors for myself because I wasn't
Mhm.
reliant on others. I was reliant on Danny Davis.
Yeah. So when you got to that first meeting, like how did you open the door for that very first meeting?
With college,
Just in general, college or business, either one.
I would say the first meeting for high school, if we take it way back, was just
Mhm.
me just reaching out to friendlies, reaching out to my high school
Yeah.
coaches, proximity, who was right down the street from me, who was kind
Mhm.
of the easiest in that I could just get in the door. You want when you're selling something, when you're starting a business, warm leads are what you need to search for. It's easy to
Right.
look at Instagram and look at social media reels. You don't realize how much time, effort, and money goes into those reels. And for you to just think, hey, I'm going to post some things on Instagram and Facebook and think it's just going to pop, not going to
Right.
happen. So the first thing you
Absolutely.
need to do is start calling. Hey, Dad, do you have any friends coaching? Hey, Coach, are you still coaching? You mind if I come down?
Right.
Hey, sir, I'm located right down the street. Do you mind if I come get 30 minutes with you and I can just show
Yeah.
you what I can do for you? Right. So that
Mhm.
that's how I got my first few meetings. And then how I got my big meetings was doing things like this, being on podcasts, putting
Yeah.
myself out there, putting out content that'll compound over time. But if I didn't do that for 3 to 5 years, just kind of on the low, I wouldn't have hit that big deal come 3, 4 years down the road.
Yeah. There seems to be a lot of scared people when it comes to AI and analytics and things like that. Where does the level of human judgment end and the data actually begin?
Well, I think I almost look at that in two parts: the data and the AI. I'll start with the AI, and I'll use a perfect example that I came across the other day. I was
Mhm.
changing the filter in my pool, and we took it all apart, and I'm trying to put it all back together, and it wasn't working. So I took a video of it, put it to ChatGPT, and it was like, hey, what's wrong with it? Gives me a response, hey, the filter says bottom on the top, flip it over. Right, I flipped it over and it worked. I think we're so far away from a robot coming and doing that whole process for me,
Yeah.
but you're able to leverage AI to just help you get one step closer that much faster and just solve problems. So if you take that to your day-to-day life, whether it be in work, personal, changing a pool filter, it's just going to help you progress that much faster. And then from a data perspective, a lot of people, they don't want to know their numbers because 9 times out of 10 it's going to bring a harsh sense of reality. Take your finances. A lot of people don't know their finances. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't know what they're spending each month. They don't. The data's there, but they don't want to look at it. It brings a harsh sense of reality.
Right.
In the sports world, if you have a nutritionist that's not data driven and you come in and be like, hey, we want to be data driven now, I
Right.
can't tell you how many times I've seen that, to where they get all kind of tight because they're like,
Yeah.
wait, now I can't BS myself through conversations. My
Right.
boss is going to see the data and we're going to have a conversation about it. So
Yeah.
I think with those two things combined now, for elite people with elite brains, elite problem solvers, people that just are hungry and willing to face facts to proceed forward where they want to go. If you have data and you have AI, you are we have supercomputers in our pockets. Like it's
Yeah,
kind of
absolutely.
crazy.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to unlock a lot of things for people that actually want to move forward, but kind
Mhm.
of be a hindrance for people that don't like facing reality sometimes.
Well, we have a lot of people who listen to this show who are entrepreneurs or even future entrepreneurs. What for you was the hardest thing to learn that nobody on LinkedIn actually talked about?
Dealing with the word no.
Yeah.
It's a very hard thing to do. Um, Hearing it over and over and over again. But what you
Mhm.
need to understand is every no that you get is progress. You should, if
Yeah.
you're an entrepreneur, first starting out, your number one goal on the board should be go get 100 no's. Go get someone to tell you no to your face 100 times. And if you do it right, if you get past the first five, right, and then you get to 10, you're going to start stacking data. Note down why they're saying no. Why are they
Yeah.
saying no? What do I need to do to change? Is it it's they're not saying no because it's personal. And that's the number
Mhm.
one mistake I see people make in general, not just entrepreneurs, but when they're told no, they take it personal. It's not
Yeah,
no. It's
absolutely.
wrong with the product. There's something wrong with how you're messaging it. Something wrong with how you're coming across. There's something wrong with maybe there's no market for it. Maybe you need to pivot into a completely separate market. So that'd be the number one thing that it's like the hardest thing to deal with, but you don't hear it and you need to go and find the no's out there because then once you get 100 no's, there's a strong possibility that 101st person you talk to will say yes.
Yeah.
And that's where it
Yeah.
starts.
That just had me thinking about a buddy of mine. He was the type that always liked to cast a wide net.
Mm.
So we went to a Washington Redskins game, just to kind of date the time frame in this. Um, we're at the game and he's walking around, and we just decided to spend like the third quarter just walking around. They were getting blown out, so it didn't matter. We're walking around the stadium and he's talking to every woman in sight, and it didn't matter if she was just in like one was 5 feet away from the other one. He's trying every woman because he said, you know what, there's going to be one that's going to say yes, so I'm going to keep throwing my net out there. But that's the way it gets a lot of times. When you start getting those no's, you can't be discouraged. That those no's should just be motivation for you to keep trying and get better.
100%. And for the Man Space Nation out there, like this is almost a perfect example. I had a best friend that was trying to get into the entrepreneur side
Yeah.
and get into the sales side, and he would just
Mhm.
be devastated after every no he heard. But this was the same guy that would go out to the bars and be told no 15 different times with a smile on his face. I'm
All
like,
right.
dude, just think about it the same way. All of those
Yeah.
no's I've prepared you. It's there's nothing different. There's nothing different about it. Those girls are saying
Absolutely.
no because they have a boyfriend. Their dad's gonna get mad. They got something going
Hmm.
on. They're drunk. 9 times out of 10, it has nothing to do with you, and you need to take
Yeah.
that same approach.
Yeah. And that's something, all of us can apply to our lives. But, you know, throwing this back to you and your career, you've built $1 million organizations and elite programs. What is something that somebody in the Man Space Nation listening to this could apply right now that could work in his own life, other than doing handling the nose better?
I think you need to find a way to upskill yourself, and
Hmm.
the number one mistake I find entrepreneurs making, or just people in general that want to leave their W-2 job to go do their own thing, what you
Yeah.
need to realize is you need to maximize that opportunity. You work 9 to 5. What are you doing between the hours of 5 a.m. and 9 a.m.? What are you doing between the
Yeah.
hours of 5 p.m. and 9 p.m.? And then during work, hey, don't just chase your responsibilities or chase your requirements or chase the paycheck. What can you be doing to upskill yourself, not for the company, not for a paycheck, not for brownie points, but for something that's going to upskill yourself because you think it's going to get you that step closer to the vision? almost use your W-2 job, use the situation you're in, figure out a way to leverage it to propel you where you want to be. Because if you just say, "Hey, I quit my job, I'm gonna go do my own thing and make my own money,"
Hmm. Yeah.
you're probably in a you're it's not going to end well. But if you say, "Hey, in 3 years, I'm going to go do my own thing. What do I need to do that? I need to upskill myself in this. I need to talk to this person. I need to get this going. That means I got to wake up earlier. That means I got to put
Right.
the Xbox down. That means I got to put the music down, stop going out on the weekends. I got to lock in for 3 years. And everything I do is going to be towards that vision." That's how you accomplish something right there.
Yeah. What does the next 5 years for Danny Davis look like?
That's a great question, and something that for this year specifically, I've been really trying to break the mold on a little bit
Hmm.
because, for the past 5 years, I had been envisioning where I am today, and
Yeah.
I almost became every movement I made, every thought I had was to be the man that I am today. And now that I am that man over the past year or so, I
Hmm.
became a little comfortable, a little not so
A
hungry, little
little
lax,
complacent.
little
Yeah.
sleeping in, little watching too
Yeah.
much TV, playing too much video games,
Yeah.
because I wasn't chasing anything. I I kind of made it in my
Hmm.
mind because I reached that 5 year goal to where now I had to really reinvent myself of saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm happy with what I have, but now it's the next 5 years."
Yeah.
And it gave me so much confidence because I've shown myself I could do it. Anything I set my mind to, I can go do, but I need to
Mhm.
follow the process. You can't skip the process. So the next 5 years, man, I honestly don't. I still don't yet have an answer. I'm like now starting to break through that mold of not being comfortable just chilling anymore, not being comfortable being comfortable, trying to get back to that uncomfort. Um,
Mhm.
and my goal now in the next 5 years, and my wife and I's goal is, hey, we want to have kids. We want to start having a family. Okay,
Yeah.
what does that look like now? What do we need to have in place? We need
Right.
to have a house. We need to have security. We need to have funds.
Mhm.
What lifestyle do we want to provide our children? Okay, so that
Right.
means over the next 5 years, we got to do X, Y, and Z. Hey, when the kids come, we're going to the back burners. So let's make sure
Mhm.
that we're investing into ourselves right now to make sure that we get everything we want right now so we're not
Right.
having regret during, five,
Right.
10 years from now. So it's a little bit more family oriented over the next
Mhm.
5 years, where the last 5 years was really Danny Davis oriented,
Yeah.
which honestly, just saying out loud is just such a blessing, and I just thank God for being able to be in that situation.
Yeah.
Um, but that's what I think the next 5 years look like for me.
Yeah. I like how you put that because of especially sharing the whole complacency deal because that's one thing that we try to tell people on this show is just because you ate the meal and the meal was good doesn't mean that you're not supposed to get another meal tomorrow. It's not your last meal. You gotta you gotta keep being hungry and go for that next meal, you know. So I do like that. And it doesn't mean that the vision doesn't change, right?
Mhm.
Your vision may change and for you it's gonna be more family oriented. A lot of people may take that out of order and feel like, oh man, once the family comes, the vision stops. No, you're just changing the vision a little bit. You know, when you really think about your line of sight, 1 degree can completely put you in a whole different city if you're just trying to go down a straight line. You change that in 1 degree, you're not going to end up, in LA. You may end up in San Francisco. You may end up, somewhere in Washington State, if you just changing that trajectory 1 degree trying to go somewhere. So I I think a lot of people get lost in that and not understand it. But I like how you put it and that you're finding your vision for the next 5 years. And that's I feel like you're gonna be very successful in doing so.
And I think another thing too that a lot of people miss when they try to lock down their vision or they're
Mhm.
chasing their vision is there's two parts to it. There's the vision, but then there's
Mhm.
also the strategy. And
Yeah.
the strategy of how to attain the vision, your first strategy probably is not going to work. Your 10th strategy probably isn't going to work, but that doesn't mean
Right.
you just throw out the vision. That means
Mm-hmm.
you tweak the strategy. So being
Right.
able to say, be able to lock that vision in, but keep it separate from the ground level, boots on ground, night day to day knife
Mm-hmm.
fight is completely different than where you want to go. And that's the number one thing I like telling people, or trying to tell people my age, is having those two things in place is so key to accomplish anything that you want. Because if you just throw out the vision because the strategy didn't go well,
Yeah.
you're going to throw out every vision that you have.
I want you to finish this sentence, please. A man with no system is a man who fill in the blank.
False.
Yeah.
False.
Yeah. You got to put systems in place. And it doesn't have to be, a full on architect, but with everything in your life, there has to be a system. I uh, I had a director that I reported to, and I had all these processes in place, and I started writing them down, and every time I would go and I'd talk to him about, well, this is how we do XYZ, he's like, hey, where's the process? And I would show him the process. And he would always stress, if you don't have the process in place, then it's not going to work.
Mm.
Right? You got to have the process in place. And that stuck with me. So even down to me, even doing this podcast, I have every step of this podcast as far as what I do, when I do it, how I do it written out. So that way, if I'm not here, somebody else can pick it up and do it. And everything that happens after we finish, is already documented. I have a whole book over here that's documented. So that way I can pass that over to somebody else and they can pick up and just keep going. If you don't have the system in places, and even down to just putting it into a notebook just for the process, you got to have that method or procedure. And if you don't, it's going to fall. So I agree with that 110%.
And you just think about this from the podcast that you're doing a great job with. If you had to reinvent the wheel every single podcast,
Oh
you
my
probably
gosh.
wouldn't be here right now. And if you
Right.
didn't jot down the processes,
Hmm.
I'm sure that you've taken things out of the process because they
Oh,
weren't needed.
absolutely.
And now that makes your
Absolutely.
life that much easier.
Yeah. I tell you, and I'll peel the curtain back a little bit, Manspace Nation, because we're coming up on our seventh year of doing the show, our seventh season rather, of doing the show. And from the first season, we were just audio alone. We weren't doing video. We were just strictly audio. And I spent so much time in post edit, because I'm doing all of it myself. And my wife couldn't understand, like, why is it taking you so long to produce the show? I would spend every second listening to every little second to make sure it sounded completely perfect. And I would spend 3 to 4 days just editing one show.
Mm,
And my wife could not understand it. And I'm just like, yeah, well, this is what I go through. And it got to the point where, like, okay, what can I do to make it better? What can I do to make it easier? What processes can I follow to make this all work better? And it really started to flow. And to now, when we're doing the show, a lot of the things that Manspace Nation that you see on the YouTube channel or you see on WTMS TV, I'm doing this in real time when we're putting this stuff into the show. So that way I don't have to spend 3 to 4 days in the background after a show editing. Yeah, I may throw in a little something here and there just in cleanup, but I can have a show turned around in an hour or two compared to, 72 hours, of work afterwards. And it makes a lot of sense, a lot of, just to have that system in place,
mm,
because trying to continue to, if we wouldn't have made it to season 6 if I was still going at the same pace as we were back into the original, first 90 something episodes. Our 100th episode was the first video episode that we did. And I did that over a Zoom call and did not know what I was doing whatsoever. It was
Mm,
trying to piece that together. And we had 5 guests on that show and trying to put all this stuff together. And like, fortunately, I recorded it several weeks early to give myself time. But it was just like, what in the world am I doing? This is
mm.
like, it was not wasn't sustainable. So without having a system, you're right, you're gonna fall. It's just not sustainable.
Let me ask you this, like during
Yeah.
that process, especially when you're first getting started,
Hmm.
where do you say you draw the line between maybe perfection and progress to where it's like is an 80% solution okay, 85? You strive for that 100 or 99, like especially when you're starting out and maybe not everyone's seeing it, like how do you find that line between perfection and progress?
So what I had to realize is I had to be happy with my work and feel like I gave my best effort on every single one, right?
Mm,
And once I realized that, instead of trying to be perfect on everything, because that's what I was really striving for. And I've told the Man Space Nation several times, though those first few episodes were horrible. I had this gaming headset on that I took from my Xbox because I didn't have a real microphone. And every time I turned my head, you hear click, 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 click. So the first few episodes were really rough. And trying to spend all that time trying to adjust, and I think it got to the point where it was affecting my personal life, because
mm,
yeah, I still held a 9 to 5 job while doing all of this stuff, and still trying to branch out as an entrepreneur at the same time. It wasn't enough hours in the day for me to do everything. And when that started to impact my own happiness, I had to realize I had to be happy with the product that I'm putting out,
mm,
and realize that I can't please everyone. And when you're in the mindset to be a perfectionist, you're trying to please everyone. And when you try to do that, you please no one, not
mm.
even yourself. So it's like, hey, am I happy with what I'm putting out, what I'm doing? And long as I'm happy with it, I'm gonna keep rolling.
That's great insight. That's
Yeah.
great insight. Mm.
So, Danny, as we're coming down to the end of this program, this has been a great conversation, and I'm sure we could probably go on for a whole nother hour, just kind of going back and forth. But for the Manspace Nation, where can they find you? What can they go out there and see, like your dogs, and learn more information about you and your whole portfolio, things like that?
I got a couple websites there if you want to go check out what I'm doing in the college world. That's reconsports.com. If you want to check out about my life, it's dannydavismedia.com. If you want to check out some of my work that I've done and some of the case studies, that's dannydavisportfolio.com. My dogs have an Instagram page. You can find that on my Instagram, Danny underscore D40. My wife runs that. And I'm on LinkedIn. I try to post some data tips and things like that. What I really almost want to do next in the sports world is, I learn data through sports, and I almost want to take that and give that to, a Man Space Nation type of group to be like,
Yeah.
hey, this is how you learn data through football. 'Cause that's what
Hmm.
makes sense to me. Okay, a down to distance, this is a one to many
Yeah.
relationship. Okay, now that I get that, how can I go and excel in my job? Right. So that's almost
Mm,
what I want to do next, and just teaching the basic fundamentals using football that we all know and love
yeah.
to be able to go out into your career and now excel in
Yeah.
that is the next stage of my sports life, to be honest with you. But yeah, go
Mhm.
go check me out on any of those sites. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to have a conversation. And
Yeah.
last thing I'll say is the biggest advice point I can get, and something that I was kind of missing from my life a little bit,
Mm.
especially being a solo entrepreneur, and I'm trying to get back into now and finding it. And is having, that group of men, that brotherhood, the dudes that you catch up with, go have
Yeah.
a beer with, shoot the shit with. Like, I didn't have that for a little bit,
Yeah.
especially after leaving the army, and I'm starting to get back into it, and I just noticed such a difference in my
It
life.
is.
So definitely keep your brothers around, man. Go find that group of guys that you get along with. Listen to stuff
Yeah.
like this, and it's good for the soul, and it'll help you just keep pushing and find that motivation, because we all have our problems. But sometimes when you're just able to laugh at them and hear that
Hmm.
other guys have similar problems or the same problems,
Yeah.
it makes it a lot easier to deal with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 110%. I tell you, Les and I, we've probably known each other 17, 18 years that we've known each other. And having that, developing that friendship with him. And yeah, he's from Detroit. I grew up in Alabama. And, you know, both of us having a military background, we served within a couple of years of each other. So we knew a lot of the same things. We had a lot of the similar experiences that kind of, brought us together, and just developing that friendship, being able to have that person that you can relate to and talk to. And really, one of the things that I loved about doing this show is the fact that it gave me that opportunity to chat with one of my closest friends every week. And a lot of times the conversations that we have off the air are even better than the ones we actually have on the air, you know.
Yes.
So we give y'all a little smidgen, but we don't give y'all the whole thing. But yeah, that's the part that I enjoy. I think every man out there needs that release. But before I let you go, Danny, I got one last thing for you, and we'd love it to call it the last word. Danny, you've built systems for some of the most elite organizations within the country, programs where every metric is tracked, every performance is measured, every outcome is analyzed. But here's what I really want to know is, when you strip that all away, no data, no title, no rank, no uniform, no business, how does a man know if he's actually becoming who he is supposed to be?
You know, I think this is where the spiritual side comes into play. You have your
Mhm.
mental, you have your physical. It's There's a spiritual side to it, and
Yeah,
religion is any religion out there. No, the spiritual component, and that could mean something a different. That can mean something different to every man out there. But I think coming in tune with that spiritual side of yourself, whether it's through God, whether it's through a creator, whether it's through that's a question for you to answer yourself.
yeah,
But that's how you kind of tune in to, hey, am I on the right path? Hey, am I using my skill set to make the world a better place, to impact others? I think being in tune with your spiritual side, and then just kind of look around you.
yeah,
Look at the fruits of your labor. Are the fruits what you want? Are they? Do you see the crops growing? Do you see next year's crop coming? And if you don't see that,
mhm,
then you got to make a pivot. Something's not right. But if you do see that, hold on to it. Create a
yeah,
system around that. What can I do better to make sure next year's crop yields that much more? So being able to
yeah.
kind of see your life around you, being able to have faith into a spiritual side of yourself, um, I think are two things that when you wake up in the morning and your feet hit the ground, let's go.
I love it. Love it. Appreciate it. Danny Davis, thank you so much for spending time with us here on the Man Space Nation. This has just been such an enlightening conversation. I think that, once again, we've just scratched the surface with you. I mean, I think there's so much more that we can really talk about. And I'm so excited to hear more about your next steps in the future. I love to have you back on and just hear, like, okay, where's that next 5 years? Where's that plan starting to line up for you, and things like that. And then as far as the group and the metrics and things like that as well. Um, especially, building this brotherhood and things. And I am a big time football fan. When it comes down to it for me, I love, Man Space Nation knows I love the University of Alabama. I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. As they can't see my Bryce Young back there behind me, but
Mm.
my Panthers up there on the shelf. So I love the break down sports analogies and things like that. So I love what you're doing with all of that, and I would love to be able to share that with the Man Space Nation as you start bringing that to light. So uh, please keep in touch with us, and let's talk more in the future, because I love to be able to help boost that and put it out there to the Man Space Nation.
Absolutely, Russ. I really appreciate you having me on. I'm looking forward to connecting and reconnecting in the future. And thank you
Mhm.
for what you do for all men out there. This is so important for us. Being able to have that sense of community that you bring to us is paramount. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you. As we do each week, we like to close the show with just a little bit of inspiration. We live in a world that is obsessed with the big moment, the highlight reel, the overnight success, the massive transformation. Social media has convinced us that if we can't show the mountain, the climb isn't worth talking about. So we wait. We hold off celebrating until we've done something worthy of an announcement. We dismiss the quiet victories because they don't feel big enough. And what every man worth his salt eventually figures out, the mountain is just a collection of small steps that someone decided to keep taking. You woke up early this morning when you didn't have to. That's a win. You had the hard conversations instead of avoiding it. That's a win. You put the phone down and showed up present for your kid, your partner, your friend. That's a win. You went to the gym after 2 weeks off. You drank water. You made the call you kept putting off. You did the thing that scared you just a little, and you did it anyway. That's a win. None of those things are going viral. None of those things deserve a standing ovation, but every single one of them is compounding. Every rep you put into your body when nobody is watching is building something that nobody can take from you. Don't mistake activity with achievement. Don't dismiss the quiet work either. The man who shows up consistently for the small things is already way ahead of the man who's still waiting for the perfect moment to start. Think about it like this. A river doesn't carve through a rock because of one massive flood. It does it through relentless, patient, persistent water, day after day, the same path, the same pressure, until the day the canyon is undeniable. And everybody wants to know how you got there. But the answer is always the same. A little bit, every day, for a long time. That's how you work. That's how you get it done. Even when it feels invisible. Even when the progress is too slow. Even when you look in the mirror and you wonder if it's adding up. I promise you it is. Man Space Nation, don't just chase the goal. Chase the small win inside of it. Because the man who masters the small win, he's not waiting for his life to change. He is the change. One rep, one choice, one honest day at a time. Until next time. Man Space Nation, one of my favorite sayings out there is Rome did not get built in a day, but it still got built. Accept those small wins out there, man. Just one step at a time, and you can achieve greatness. Just doing it one step at a time. Don't focus on the end result. Focus on the next step. in the process, and don't skip the steps in the process, because you just never know what you're going to miss out on in the end. But Manspace Nation, you know what happens every Monday night on the Manspace podcast. WTMSTV.com at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch the latest episode of the Manspace Podcast 2 days early before it airs to the rest of the world. And then on Thursdays, it's Throwback Thursdays with back-to-back episodes of the Manspace Podcast. And then Manspace Nation, July 8th. You can catch the season premiere, Season 7, July 8th of the Manspace Podcast. Now, on that note, since Les is not here, I'll say it for him. We out of here.
No gimmicks, just game that my sure in sight. They shine like the city on a Friday night. Man talk, real talk, that's the way that you bless. Giving knowledge and some laughs in the same finesse. From life goes to the jokes that hit. They the tag team champs, yeah, legit with the wit. So pull up a chair, let the stress digest. From the beat drops, you know the rest. You go chillin' with Russ and Les.